Is it smart to choose to date a man or be in a relationship with a man because of his height? Is it smart to do it because of his money? Is it smart to do it because of some other superficial, he's got a six pack? Is that smart? I don't think so. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about a lot more than that. Welcome back to Far From Eden. I think it's fair to say, I think there's plenty of evidence right before our eyes that we don't choose well. Women don't choose well. In the whole entire population of men, there are a ton of men who are now being selected out of the gene pool, and a lot of ones that are being selected into the gene pool. You know, dangerous ones, losers and felons, basically. Because they're tall, you can have a lot of money in some kind of nefarious career. It's not good, and it's not leading society in a good way. Because then what happens? What happens? Well, the guy is going to do something, break up with her, and she's going to be traumatized from that. And then see all men that way, and then go ahead and make the same decision and have the same result. For most of human history, we didn't choose entirely by ourselves who our husband would be and who we were allowed to consort with. Honestly, when I was growing up, I heard birds of a feather flock together. Like, I don't want you hanging out with that group of people, etc. But we don't have that anymore. We have tolerance. We have tolerance, and we have kindness, and we have, and no, it's just a lack of discernment and throwing away what having good character means, and even what good means, and not to sound like Jordan Peterson about what does it even mean. But anyway, so today I thought we would go over one of Homath's recent re-releases. I have some comments to add as a female, from a female perspective. I have some comments to add, slight disagreements, maybe, sort of, a little bit. I really respect Homath. I think he's a genius, and I think he is a lone voice making sense of what's going on. He really is, in a very analytical, non-biased, non-emotional way. And I actually think he's getting even better at it. So let's take a look at what he has to say in this video. Well, I could also, learn how to use my computer. That would also help. Oh, you guys, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. There we go. Here we are. Okay. All right. So I even have comments about the outfit we've got going on. I mean, am I insane, or are we doing like a Civil War reenactment? Or is this actually somebody in the service? I don't think so, but believe me, how a woman presents herself and what she wears is always meaningful. Always. There's always some kind of intention to it. But without further ado,
I want so badly to be attracted to like Prius driving mother.
I would also love it if you were attracted to Prius driving mother. It's overall better for society in the long run. Tell me more about why.
Like someone who makes good financial decisions, cares about the environment. Like that's what.
Okay. We're conflating two things right here. She's mixing some things up. A Prius driver, she's saying, is responsible because they care about the environment, right? That's a lefty, right? That's a lefty. She's describing a lefty. There are two things going on. Is it good guy versus bad boy, but it's also lefty and more effeminate. I'm sorry. You can care about the environment in a Teddy Roosevelt sort of a way, in a preservation sort of a way, and I'm not going to litter and be wasteful because I have respect for God's creation. Or you can believe Greta Thunberg's, how dare you? And she's going the route of, how dare you? Right? Just here. So that's important because we're going to juxtapose it to the so-called bad boy.
What I want to be attracted to.
Those are good guy traits, of course, and attraction is caused by the other stuff.
But the joke is on me
The joke is on everyone.
because I see a lifted pickup truck and I'm like, that probably cost this whole paycheck. Do you want to make bad decisions together?
Yeah, that's
Most girls don't think about pickup trucks being worth a lot of money. They just don't. They think of like sports cars and like luxury vehicles as costing a lot of money. Obviously, as a, former equestrian or current equestrian, I know pickup trucks cost a lot of money. So that's a rare thing that she would know that. Also, a lifted pickup truck, you're not gonna see a lefty driving a lifted pickup truck. The thing about the men who drive lifted pickup trucks, are they the bad boys or are they the boys that tell you, what they'll put up with and what they won't? Don't we have a difference between like a soy boy, simpy guy in the Prius and a masculine, I know what I'm doing guy? Is she making the excuse that she wants to want the simp, but she just keeps wanting the one that is going to tell her no? The guy in the lifted pickup truck is going to tell you no. Is that the bad boy? There is an essence of that. And that's the thing we should be attracted to. That's where I got a little bit confused. I agree with what Homath is saying, that she should choose the one that's good for her and good for society. But as far as Prius versus lifted pickup truck, we've got simpy versus, masculine, and I'm going to tell you no. But she's choosing to say, oh, one's responsible and one's not. Is it that, honey? Or is it that one tells you how it's going to be and you like it? It's possible that it's what I'm saying because I'm getting into her head and knowing that you cannot believe what these TikTok girls say on TikTok. It's always PR management. It's PR management. I don't think it has anything to do with, oh, let's go, burn money together. I don't think it's that. But it doesn't change Homath's argument. I hope that makes sense. But I thought you guys need to know what she's really actually saying. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is true that we don't know how to pick and we shouldn't be fully in charge of it. That's what fathers and older brothers are for, to sort of weed people out and point you in the right direction. It's for our own good. Turns out patriarchy is for our own good. Who knew? The Wilsons know.
normal. All women are attracted to fun, dangerous things like lifted pickup trucks. You just
True.
can't go by attraction because then you only get the good stuff now and the bad stuff later as opposed to the other way around. So if you choose this, then your life gets bad. And
See, all that's still true. But I just had to point out that I don't know if Chickadee here is actually the example for it. And it's something that men need to know what she's saying about it anyway. So, but carrying on with Homath's argument, he's absolutely right. And I agree with him 100%. But like I said, that part where he's going to tell you no and that kind of thing, that's the dangerous and edginess we should be attracted to. The fact, not trying to get weird here, but the fact that he can dominate us. And I'm sorry, but if you've been a woman, you know, if you know, you know, right? That's the edgy, danger part that is in us for a reason. We are created by God actually to be attracted to that. The problem is it's getting all messed up and we're being attracted to losers and felons. when we should be attracted to the man who's going to say, no, sit down. And it's a little like, kind of like when your dad comes in is like, you know, you should have that little bit. And women like it. They won't admit it, but they like it. And that's the danger bad boy part. That's why we're attracted. That's why it's in us. There's so many things about our nature that were actually intended for good, like that attraction to bad boys when it should be attracted to the man who's going to be like, right? Which can be a little bit daunting when they're going to really shut you down. They're not allowed to now by law, but, you know, it was a little better when we could be put in our place. Anyway, so the other thing is like gossiping or whatever. That's a bad thing, and it's gotten to be very bad, but we used to keep society get together and know what everybody's doing and who's a recent widow and what they need, and, you know, that's sort of a thing. So, and our skills at manipulation, that's literally for children, little children, right? To almost teach them. I mean, to teach them and sort of mold them. Teaching is basically manipulation in a sense, right? And that's the way you're going to deal with 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, is you're going to coax them into and train them. And we're good at that. It's just being, you know, sent off into the world in a very bad way. So these are all the things I really needed to add to his analysis here.
And if everyone chooses this, then the world gets bad. And we used to have things that would make the choices for you, but now you have to do it yourself, which means a struggle between what you want and what's smart.
I hate it here. I hate it.
I hate it here too. This should not be incentivized, but that's okay, because you're at least asking the right questions. This is a visualization of my consciousness system, and this girl's video is actually coming from probably one of these levels, which
She's not asking questions. She's putting out an advertisement.
Is admirable because a lot of people don't get there on a day-to-day basis. In my opinion, humanity is spending more and more time at these lower levels. They're looking at the phone and going, do I want this? No. Do I want this? No. No, no, no. Yes, okay, I want that. Well, where do I get it? I guess I could send a message to this person. In my life coaching practice, a lot of people come to me with questions like this. How do I get what I want more effectively? And sometimes I just answer it, and sometimes I have to push them a level higher too. Is this something you should want? And that's what she's asking herself. She knows that this.
I think you should start before that with what should I want and what is the right thing. Because if you're just going by, well, I want, and I should want, and I want, that's still feelings based. And he wants to push away from feelings based. That's still feelings based. Want is feelings. Need is not feelings. And instruction for how a good life is, how an orderly life is good. It's not based on feelings. Whether or not you get divorced or not get divorced should not be based on feelings. It should not be based on what you want, what you think you deserve. That's where we get off track in the first place. This whole want thing. We need more shoulds and oughts. What ought you do? What ought you do? What's your duty here? What's your purpose here? Get rid of all these want, because those are fleeting. It's still fleeting. Okay, let's continue.
Is fun, but she knows that the fun will end. She's thinking about her choices over time, and that's what we should all do. We're all going to have thoughts at this level all day long, and the more that you slow down and spend time on it, the higher level your thoughts will go, and the more control you will get over how your life is later. And if you get up to this,
or you could just stop thinking about it from the perspective of I want. That is possible. It's possible. And ought you do that?
Level enough, you can actually recondition your impulses so that this no longer looks so good. It's the same principle behind AA. Admit you have a problem and then you can recover. This guy showed up in a bathrobe. He's not going to make it. Here's how it goes. You feel an impulse that isn't good for you if you act on it. You notice the impulse. You evaluate if you should do it or not. And then you imagine the feelings of living out that choice. Last year, I was dating someone who was very good at this. She wanted me to wear this ring. She was cute. While we were dating, I had a life coaching client who really had his life together. The conversation went like this. He said, I'm tall, I'm fit, I'm attractive, I make a ton of money. How can you help me? And I was like, can you help me? I told her about him and she recognized that it set off her hypergamy. She was like, what if I could get a guy like that? I'm not perfect, and neither is anyone, no matter how much you look.
I'm sorry. He was with a girl and he told her about a client that had all these attributes. And she was like, ooh, I like that. I actually want that. No, just no. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm out of here. Once again, this is why you shut down your thinking of I want. I don't accept this. Well, you're just going to want it. You're just going to want it. If you're there in your mindset to the point where it just pops, I mean, I hope he walked after that. I really do. Because I don't think you guys would put up with that. If you had some chick telling you, oh my God, he's so awesome. Wonder if I could have him. I guess I'll settle for you. No, y'all are putting up with way too much. Okay. Just like in real life, we need to feed our souls. So real quick, a Lola sighting can calm down from all this insanity in the world that we've got going on. So there she is. There's your girl. All right. Back to translating womanese and describing the fall of our society.
Look like this at the start, you will look like this eventually. Remember, no amount of value can protect you from hypergamy. So my girlfriend had a feeling that she wanted something, but then she got up to, should I want this? And then she told me right away. She knew that hypergamy makes you always want more until you get to the guy who doesn't want you back, and then you have nothing.
I know this is going to sound like Little House on the Prairie and like an absolute like impossibility, but the thing is when you are actually governed by your oughts, I ought to do this, I ought to do that, it shuts down the wants. Sounds like his girlfriend is like operating her whole life based on what she wants, which is I'm sorry, it's a very selfish position. I understand that's how we operate a lot of the times, but just accepting that that's how it is and not challenging someone to be like, you know what? Why are you just always thinking about what you want, what you want, what you want? It's possible to shut that down in the ways that it needs to be shut down. It doesn't mean you're not going to know that you would rather have chocolate than vanilla or ice cream or like anything like that. It's not going to shut that down. It's not going to destroy who you are. It's just that it should be more of like, what's my duty to do and what's my ought? Because if his girlfriend thinks, oh gosh, that'd be amazing. Do you think that's the first time she's thought that? Do you think it just dawned on her? It didn't. What does she see when she sees men around? Does she think about her ex? It sounds like probably so. And you don't have to accept that. This is why men are walking away, because you should walk away from this nonsense. I understand that that's not his point, but part of it, I feel like, should be. The reason he is struggling to get people to understand this is because once you start operating from what I want, you're already operating from a very selfish perspective. And in a perspective lacking in character. And that's how we get to the bad place. I don't think you can fix it by just going, well, your want should be better. How about your want should be extremely diminished and replaced by an ought.
She remembered, just because I want it doesn't mean it's a good idea. In other words, if you keep replacing guys who put you here, eventually you get to someone who puts you here. And of course, this was not a fun conversation for me. No one wants to feel like I'm not number one, but adults talk about their feelings. That's why I picked her. She was really smart and good at that. I would never date somebody if she would not tell me what she was feeling.
She was so wonderful. She told me that she was settling for me, and I appreciate that in her. It's just painful.
Because again, you are going to look like this to her eventually, no matter who you are. She's
Of course.
always going to want someone more than you sometimes. That's what hypergamy is. And the only way that relationships can be stable is if you hang on during the times where the feelings are maybe not as good. You have to be there during the good times and the bad. It's in the marriage vows, for better or for worse. If you don't do that, then your life is just this red line. Every time you meet someone and they're fun, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's not fun anymore, and you leave. And then you meet someone, but he left after one night. And then you meet another guy, and let's see where this goes. Oh, this is awesome. And then you get the ick and you leave. And it's just chaos. And then the dating market starts looking like this disaster instead of this straight green line. And then no one gets married and no one has kids. And then the neighborhood you grew up in looks like this. So what?
That might not be why the neighborhood looks like that, but that's a whole different subject.
This woman is saying is, I recognize my desire for something that won't work out well for me. I wish I did.
For me, won't work out well for me. What does that even mean? Because like he said, you're going to have ups and downs. You know, the way someone chews is going to get on your nerves. Things are going to frustrate you like it would in any relationship. But the thing is that you have to focus on realizing that's you. That's your issue. You're becoming irritable. You're becoming disagreeable, not he's becoming annoying. And this whole, it's normal to covet. It's basically what we're saying. Totally normal to covet. Now, I understand there can be like oh gosh, it can sneak in. A temptation can sneak in. But you have to have the character to shut it down. And how do you get that? You practice it. You build up that muscle of, I had a little temptation to think a certain way. You shut down the thoughts. As he said, well, the marriage vows are this. Yeah, well, if you're not supposed to cheat on somebody, right? Where do we get that rule? Well, that comes from the Bible. Guess what you're also not supposed to do? Think about it. And I hate this thing, like, you can't really control your thoughts. The heck you can. Yes, you can. Because you can shut it down and you can fill yourself with what you ought to do and what your duty is and why you love the person you're with. When you go see my video, F him, feed him, and leave him alone. Because I list like 7 other things in a very serious way, how you should view your man, your husband, your person, how a woman should view that. And when you are cultivating that, guess what? You're not going to do. You're literally not going to look at that whatever 8, 9, and 10 and think, oh God, I wonder if I could get that. Because you're not going to, you don't want that. I know it's possible. I know it's possible. I'm a woman. I know it's possible. I know other women. I know it's possible. This whole accepting that she's just going to be hypergamous and she's just going to covet, that's because she's not doing the things she needs to do in the relationship with you. Because she's not going to look at that 8, 9, and 10 and think, oh, I wish I could have that, unless she feels she's settling for you. And you don't need to do that. In fact, Mr. Homath, you were settling for her. Because that's not okay. It's not okay.
Didn't have it. And this is what people have forgotten how to do. Listen to this.
When I was dating, I used to get icks from like the tiniest things, like breathing, absolutely not in the bin. Needs oxygen, yuck. Has toenails, disgusting. Eyelashes too long, ugh. Eyelashes too short. Ugh. I've come to this realization recently that I feel like icks are like your subconscious brain being like, run away. Maybe it's a sign that you're not supposed to be with that person.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's also a sign that you think you're too good for anything and you are easily irritated. It's a sign that it's you, and it's a sign of a lack of character. And it's a sign that your brain is making up reasons not to pair bond. But aside from that, let's listen to what Homath has to say.
It's your body telling you maybe not this one. But the 0 ick period lasts for maybe.
You should be getting the ick with the losers and felons. Like, that is another thing that I'm saying. It's a natural thing that God gave us, and it's supposed to be there. And it's supposed to repel us from actual people who are dangerous, bad. But we would have fathers and brothers to, keep us from that anyways. But it's beside the point.
3 months at most. And if you switch to a new guy every time, then you just end up here. I haven't finished drawing Monkey Disaster yet, but it looks like this or this. Your feelings are always going to want more fun. If you put them in charge, then
your feelings are hedonistic. Going by your feelings and your want is a hedonistic society. And I don't know. Let's look back in history at Rome and Greece and all these places that what happens when you're hedonistic? You go right face first into degeneracy, right? In all forms of degeneracy, society starts making up new forms of degeneracy because it's all about what feels good. That's where the problem starts. That's why we have all this, because we start from the wrong place.
live in hell. Your feelings cannot tell you what you should do. They just tell you what you want. You're not supposed to have a feeling and just do it. You're supposed to think, is this a good idea? If you don't figure that out, this is the.
And see, some of us can go, does this align with what God told us? And you can say, I'm crazy. You can say I'm a religious fanatic. But you also need to think, well, what was society like when we all thought like that? When we all were like, well, it's not what the good book says. What was it like then? How were men treated then? How well were children being raised? There's something to that. And if you're not sure about it, you might want to look into why that was and why atheists are actually admitting that society is better when people think like that and have a sort of a guidebook on how to operate in this world and how not to. And one of the ways not to is to go by feelings. 10 Commandments doesn't care what your feelings are. Actually, it's like, shut it down.
The future. This is the feelings-based society.
Yes, it is. It's the feelings-based society. It is absolutely hedonistic. And what does hedonism lead to? Degeneracy. And what does all that lead to? Nihilism. Because at the end of the day, you're just going on what you want. And everybody else is going on what they want. And everyone's just trying to get more, woohoo, you know what I mean, in their lives. They just think they deserve that. And in that way, no one's building character. No one's requiring more of themselves. And everyone's kind of settling because that does not lead to good things. And like I said, also, which one of the genders operates more on feelings? I know you all know the answer. And which one of the genders has sort of more political control? Because that's who the politicians and everybody caters to and propagandizes. And who's making the decisions of, you know, either to get married or to break up. The feelings people. It's not good. For all of human history, we did not let the feelings people run the show. And now we do. Because it all starts with what I want. And the idea that, well, I want it, therefore I should get it. When I was little, we were not allowed to say, Mommy, I want this. Not allowed. Not allowed to say, I want this toy. I want da-da-da. The way we were instructed to speak from the time we're little and we can speak was, oh, I like that toy. I would like that toy. May I have that toy? May I do this? Never. I want such and such, because the attitude behind it, the entitlement, the fact that it's almost like gimme. Good Lord, I can't even imagine what would have happened if I said gimme when I was little. No, it was shut down, and it was shut down early. And I've told you guys time and time again, you got to get to these girls by like 5 or 6 years old. And all this gets started with the I want, and when that gets started, and Alexander Grace has a great video on this with the tantrums and stuff, and how it's not that different. It doesn't change because they get away with it then. And to placate them, they're given the thing. Which, what does that do? It teaches them that, oh, I want this, so then I got this, so then I deserve this. And that's not the place to operate from. I don't think you can fix it when the starting point is wrong. I think home math is genius. I think a lot of what he said there was true, but unfortunately, reluctantly, I have to add, some things that I think he absolutely missed or got wrong. So, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you still are my friend, even though I said some bad things, not bad things, but I corrected home math in a couple of places. I suppose none of us can get it right all the time, right? But I think it's important to have a female perspective on this side of things, on the red pill side of things, on the side that sees society going to crap and knows why. I think it's better because females know who females are, and no one listens to men anyways. I'm more than happy to have them lead the charge, but I want to help them be heard. So on that note, please always feed your souls, because this will just rob from your souls. Take care of yourselves. Protect your peace. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.